Hello. Well, a super big welcome to Tania. I'm really excited to speak with you today. And I'm going to do a little bit of a bio for anyone that doesn't know of all your achievements. I'll do a bit of a bio, but it's going to be hard to fit them all in because it's very extensive. It goes on and on.
Oh, that's a nice problem to have. You pick the important parts.
Okay, sure. Well, first of all, I love the point that when you were tiny, you were singing from a very young age. So that was really sweet. And I'm envisaging you jumping on the coffee table, singing into your hairbrush. And
it's the best start to a music career, getting that right.
It's a bit of a giveaway.
It is, isn't it? Has she got the chops? Yeah.
And then in your late teens, you juggled writing and recording with early Bachelor Girl demos. So your Bachelor Girl band was formed quite early on. And then you did a Bachelor of Arts in Criminology and Psychology at Melbourne Uni. I did psychology at Monash as well. So I'm with you there. And and then your highly successful debut album, Waiting for the Day, came out and achieved a whole lot of fantastic accomplishments, double platinum status, sporting 5 hit singles, and the track Buses and Trains was a very, very big hit for quite a long time in the Australian charts and around the world as well. And then your other hit that I absolutely love, which I want to talk about, was Permission to Shine. And that had such a fantastic message. And I think that you also epitomise in your energy. You have a real social conscience, and that actually shows itself in your degree there in criminology as well. And then you've had a whole lot of other achievements like the Tim Rice Musical Spectacular alongside Australian industry legends like INXS, Kate Sarabono, so forth, and electro rock project She Said Yes, supporting Darren Hayes, the highest grossing Australian live show Let's Get Together with John Stevens, Ian Moss, Jack Jones, and then you moved to Sweden in 2011 as a songwriter for hire in Stockholm, and co-writing a lot of different songs there for a whole range of Australian and other international artists. And then you were in there's plenty more as well, but then you were also in the I can't cover everything, or you'll never get a chance to
I'm going to make myself a cup of tea while you read this out. It's like lovely. Thank you. No. Yeah.
And then the Eurovision Australia decides in 2019, this year actually, and you sang
Piece of Me.
So I'll put the link below for people to watch that as well, and all your details will be below as well. So welcome, and what a fantastic life you've had. You've made the most of it, haven't you?
Well, yeah, it's funny. I mean, I guess you do need to stop and smell the roses, but it's one of those things, like, it kind of never ends in a way. Like, creativity, as many of us say, never sleeps. So you're always looking for the next project to, often as a creative person, to bite your teeth into. And having said that, often it is important to stop and take stock of what you've accomplished, or not even accomplished, but just what you've been up to. Maybe they're not particularly successful accomplishments, and sometimes people won't even know what you're accomplishing in the privacy of your own home.
Yes.
And that's okay. In fact, it's if nothing else in life, it's about your own self-determination, I think. There's a lot of things I could tell you that I'm equally as proud of that are not in that bio.
Of course. Yes.
So I think you just it's about your relationship with yourself. Ultimately. Absolutely. And I think that's what you're up to too, in what you do on this wonderful YouTube channel.
Thank you. So I think that process of self-evolution is the thing that interests me as well. So obviously your creative gifts was there for a very young age, and singing, but also your social awareness, social conscience. I was going to ask you, when you were young and you were saw your whole life in front of you, what were the things that were important to you to accomplish in this lifetime?
Wow. When I was young and saw my whole life in front of me, it was so to be able to sing for a living was a fantasy that did come true.
Yeah.
But I think I always was searching for something else as well, like after the glory of the adoration and the validation, it was always like sometimes there was an emptiness afterwards, like, is that all it's for? Like just that hit and then that's it, you know, like for me.
Absolutely.
Whilst that was lovely, after a while, of course, novelty wears off, and I wanted to make people feel things or really sort of empower them to get things off their chest and have a good cry or a good laugh or whatever it needs to be. That's where that all dovetailed into my criminology work, and I started singing in jails and in hospitals or with kids in need and at-risk kids. Now, I think often I say it was often about me needing that maybe more than they did. I think that I needed that another layer of satisfaction, you know. I'm thinking Rolling Stones can't get no satisfaction. It's kind of me. It's like, okay, how can I truly satisfy myself? Well, to feel pleased with the performance, absolutely. But to have people or to have kids that are like really messed up in society, not through any fault of their own necessarily because of, bad parenting and neglect and drug abuse, for those kids to cry and surrender and, maybe find some solace in a song or a performance was just where it was at. And that became apparent to me very early on in my sort of late teens, early 20s, which is why when Bachelor Girl came about, I very quickly got involved with some youth work organisations that gave me personally that next layer of satisfaction.
Fantastic. The lyrics of the words, such as, buses and trains and things, they're very honest and open and showing sort of like a vulnerability, which is, I think, something that will be able to really touch people like the kids that you're talking about, because you can relate to the songs, to the lyrics, that they seem very human, if you know what I mean. So, and the song Permission to Shine, which is all about, shining at your highest potential, that is such a beautiful message. And so I love the things that you are conveying in those songs. And it reminds me of that speech from Marianne Williamson: our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. We're all meant to shine. We're all born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. My question for you, Tania, is what are you most proud of in terms of your social causes? And you have obviously this strong social conscience with the fact that you've the songs that you sing and with your degree in criminology. What are you most proud of in terms of what you've achieved as a social person with a social conscience that wants to make a difference in that way?
Okay, well, two things come to mind. Going way back in 2001, I performed Permission to Shine in a Melbourne boys detention centre, and when I first walked in there, they were all sort of, what's this silly pop star going to, do for us? And it was all a bit intimidating and scary. And by the end of Permission to Shine, they were all sort of like a blubbering mess, and there were tears and there was a real. I mean, if there weren't tears, there was a real engagement that was possible because of that song. So I'm very grateful to Bridget Bernanate for writing that song and to Mr. Clive Davis for serving it to us in the States. But the thing is that, you know, we've performed that song many occasions, many big events and television, etc. But I always go back. It's almost my go-to to that particular occasion where they were like pretty intimidating and, you know, all macho. And then by the end, they wanted to know me. So it was like the power of music exemplified. But also it opened up a way of discussion, you know, what came up for them. There's a line, guess what, I'm going to try and break free from this prison I've built. Yeah. And there we were in a prison. Wow. Me singing Permission to Shine, you know. Yes. That was very powerful. So proud that I guess I had the guts to do that. But, I mean, really, I can't take a lot of credit without sounding pathetically humble, because the song found us, and then we said yes to the song, and it got me into those, dare I say, jails and those edgier experiences that you just don't get every day as a musician, you know. These are the ones that stand out. The second one was one I'm most proud of, also proud of, is releasing Speak, which we released last year. That was our last single. And if nothing else, you know, in our sort of circles, about how we are seemingly so connected, but quite disconnected in many respects.
When it comes to expressing perhaps the things in your life that are the challenges or the difficulties, right. In the song,
yes,
hold up the signs and their all their deepest hurts and wounding and fears and things are what they're showing, but they haven't perhaps necessarily spoken about them. So I think that's fantastic, because it does say the importance of connecting and communicating, not only the good things in our life, but the challenges that we experience.
The byproducts of social media, and also that we're so seemingly connected, but we're just not talking about the real stuff a lot of the time because we need to look perfect, etc., etc. So
yes,
that's that. There's that flip side, or not so great side, about technology. Of course, technology does help us be connected as well. Like we couldn't do this right now if it wasn't for technology, given that I'm in Sweden. Yes. But you know, just the level of the epidemic that is suicide, more now than ever. I just felt like if James and I were going to come back with any song, we felt like, well, not firstly, how can we stand out a little bit, but more importantly, how can we be somewhat vital in the message rather than, hey baby, I miss you, why don't you come on over? You know, we've heard that song a million times. And that's okay, like we can still write those songs, but we wanted to, with Bachelor Girl, after, you know, more than a 12-year hiatus, what can we say that could possibly make a difference? And apparently it is making a difference, so we're pretty chuffed with that.
And that comes with maturity too, doesn't it? Because you want to make more of a difference as you get older in that way, I guess. You know, so
tell you what else comes with maturity.
I know.
I'm just squinting at you. And I can't bear it anymore. I need to wear these glasses. Good. Well, now I can see. Now I can see everything. So I'm going to take them off again.
Oh, okay. So what sort of role does spirituality play in the whole mix for you?
It has played quite a significant role. I think I lost my way with it for a bit there. Like, I think, I mean, cynicism, I wouldn't say cynicism, like I wouldn't say it in a negative way, but to some extent, I needed to get a little cynical in a positive way so that I wouldn't just prey on the gods with certain things for the music business. Like I needed more proof, etc., to get more business savvy. So spirituality kind of played a lesser role for a little while. But now I think I have the balance a little more right, where I do stand for my self-worth in the sense of more straightforward business talk and more evidence. You know, if someone says yes to something, we need it in writing, etc., etc. But also not like spiritually, I'm almost meditating every day, just because it's such a well, for obvious reasons, but release for me, and also just to stop and just be and just try to still the mind, even if it's not trying to achieve anything, or just to still the mind and therefore maybe have a bit more peace. So if things come up that are very agitating and worrying, whilst something might trigger me, I don't stay triggered. I can kind of step off it. And I attribute that to the meditations. I think I have a little bit more trust now in the process.
Sure. Well, you can see in your bio, you're a person that is a very motivated to accomplish a lot and do a lot. And so I imagine that you're in your own personal sphere quite a dynamo and always go, go, go. So that, I guess that's a good balance for your energy, for how you operate in the world.
Yes, you're spot on. I think if you're a bit go, 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 you can't come from not sleeping well, not staying asleep. So I started sleep meditation, and of course technology and apps and everything. There's a million of these things that are available now. So yeah, there's the great thing about technology right there, using apps to meditate, help meditate.
Yeah, so tell me about why you chose to live in Sweden. I'd love to hear, because it is such a different, not only environment, but the society, the way of seeing the world, the way Swedish people relate is very different even to Australian people. So tell me about your experience there and what guided you to live in Sweden. Was it a creative decision?
Yes. So to answer all of those questions in one, I was looking for something new, and I was on a 6-month jaunt with my sister around Europe, and I went to Sweden to write some songs with some songwriters, and just found it ticked all the boxes. You know, beautiful city, safe city. I mean, like very welcoming for, you know, an Aussie like me. Bus and trains had been a big hit here, so that also helped me get in some doors and help with, you know, just my profile was somewhat existent in Sweden. And it's got quite a big songwriting hub. So I just found the way that Swedes write, this, you know, they grow them on trees as songwriters. So I found it, I just found them wonderful to work with. So because I was looking for something new, and I'd achieved a certain amount of success in Australia, and thought, okay, I was single at the time, I want to grow, I want to try something else. I was itching to live somewhere else. So that's all that combined was the reason to get me here. And then when I moved here and I was getting my visa, I met my now husband.
Right.
And that sealed the deal.
Beautiful. And you have children now? How many children do you have?
I have one child, and we have Leo.
Leo, okay.
Yes, and he's 5.
Oh, beautiful. And so what's it like in terms of relating to Swedish people compared to relating to Australian people? What differences have you noticed?
The biggest differences are that I guess Swedes are a little more reserved, although I work in the music business, so I would say across the board, people in the music business are somewhat lively. Like, it's not, I'm not working with a bunch of boring, well, you know, I mean, my accountant's fantastic, so I can't say he's boring either, but, you know, that stereotype. I think Swedes get a bad rap for their reserved reputations, and I don't think it's that bad at all. They're that bad at all. But I think that's the notable difference. I think we've got a lot in common. I've often talked about how Australians are, you know, in the southern hemisphere, deep in the southern hemisphere, and Swedes are very far up north. So we sort of have that in common, because we're both a little bit isolated.
Sure.
And far away from other countries, although Sweden is in the middle of Europe. This is a very long-winded answer, but look, I think there are more similarities than differences.
Absolutely. I'm really wanting to ask you about your Eurovision 2019 being chosen for the representing Australia there with some other major Australian artists. And tell me about that experience, because that was just this year, and that would have been exciting to do that, I imagine. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it was amazing. I entered. I was asked to submit songs actually as a songwriter, and the panel loved a couple of my songs, and they ended up in the top 20 songs selected. And then there was a situation where Paul Clark, executive producer, called me up not long before the actual Australia Decides event itself and said, Tania, do you want to be in it and do your own song? And I was sort of flabbergasted, and I just dived in and I said yes. So it all happened very quickly, which was interesting because it was so fast. Was fun, but I suppose it was like crazy because I've never made a decision to be in something and released it so quickly afterwards and then being on the TV show for it. So it was very, very speedy. Yeah. I wouldn't do that every year if I wanted to survive, but it was what it was, and I think I'll always be able to tell the tale that I was involved in this. I was like a guinea pig in the whole thing. We were all guinea pigs, all of us, in the competition because there'd never been one before. Right. George Shepherd has been over here in Sweden. We've written songs, and Alan Hooper and I are good friends, and we've cheered on Kate, of course, and Courtney act in Dancing with the Stars, and Alfie was just in Romania doing a competition. So it was, there's a lot of love, mutual love for all of us, and of course we love what Electric Fields did, and they've become good mates too. So I gained all these new friends, and I just think I'm grateful for that. Absolutely. I wrote that with two Swedes and James Roche from Bachelor Girl, and that was written a few years ago now, and it was a favourite of Paul's, and he reminded me about it sort of before Christmas last year, and I said, oh really? And he said, look, why don't you really love it, so why don't you do that one,
And what was the other song that he liked that was in the top 20?
It was another song called Life Imitates Dream, so that was the close second in the whole, yeah.
Oh, well done.
Yeah. Thank you.
And so what have you got in terms of what have you got coming up in terms of your music in the future, future projects that you're working towards?
Sure. Well, right now Bachelor Girl's about to perform October, November in Australia for a few different gigs, festivals. There's one in Bega on November 30. Alongside Killing Heidi and Mentors Anything and Ark, who are, I think, different members of different rock bands through the years. And then we're doing the Gundawindi Festival October 26. James Rain, Shannon Knoll, Diesel, and the other band's escaping me. But yeah, so. And then a few little other shows in November. And I will be releasing some remixes of Piece of Me pretty soon as well, just for fun. And just working with different artists, as a songwriter still, coaching artists over here in Sweden, working with different artists. Got a few things in the pipeline with regards to releases on their behalf. Not on their behalf, but for their records. And I'm looking forward to getting to Australia, back in Australia with my husband and child from October to December, because it's not so fun being without them, for that length of time. It's kind of difficult, actually. I mean, I used to be able to do it, but now I just feel like, no, you've got to come with me. So we are in process of moving back to Australia as well. So that's taking up a lot of our time because we're preparing Daniel's visa to move to Australia, and it's quite a bit of work, let me tell you.
Wow. What part of Australia are you moving to?
So moving to Melbourne, which is where my family's from, and with that, once we move, Bachelor Girl will be able to release more records and hopefully a body of work, and I'll be able to get into, a little bit of theatre I'm playing with. It's just hard to do anything, obviously, with any length of time or any longevity if I'm in and out of the country so frequently. I've been, essentially working in 2 countries.
They're so far away from each other too. Sweden is exactly probably the most far from Australia than any other country you could have picked.
It's crazy, it's so far away, and if it was just England and Sweden, or even Italy and Sweden, or Asia and Sweden, but it's the opposite parts of the planet. So the novelty's kind of worn off, and it's time for us to sort of commit to Australia in the next year or so.
Oh, well, that'll be wonderful to have you here and all your creativity.
Thank you. Where are you based?
Actually, just outside Melbourne in Clunes. It's a little town near Ballarat, and they shoot a lot of films and TV shows here. They just shot Bloom with Brian Brown and Jackie Weaver here, and they've shot the Ned Kelly movie with Russell Crowe here, and that was a bit of fun. So that they often shoot things. It's quite a historic streetscape in the main street.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's all gold mining town.
Lovely. And you've always been there? No.
Only a couple of years. But I grew up in Melbourne myself, Templestowe actually. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Just because James from Bachelor Girl, he's from Ballarat. He's a Ballarat boy.
Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. It's quite big actually, Ballarat. Surprisingly big.
It is quite big, isn't it?
Yeah.
Quite a big city, and but all his family are in Melbourne now. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I've got a couple more questions I'd love to ask you, if that's all right. Have you got time for a couple more?
Of course. Go for it.
Oh, thank you. So I'm really interested in asking people about what mentors or what people have, made a difference for you in your life, because I think it's really great, particularly for young people, to have mentors that they can relate to, and that can be sort of like people that they can aspire to work towards something. And even energetically, when you're connecting with someone who's a mentor, it's really helping you to go in the direction that you want to go. So what mentors have been important for you in your life?
Oh wow, so many, and they're not necessarily heroes or famous people, but I would say first and foremost my mother, her strength, and she's super cool in many respects. Just courageous. Probably her greatest achievements of late are that she comes back and forth to Sweden, and she's 80 years of age on a plane. I mean, she's now 80, so in truth she was 75 when she was mostly travelling here. It's getting a little tough for her now, but just not afraid, not afraid to try. And I think that's such a cliche message, or if she was afraid, and I take it back, she had fears around many things she did, but she was always able to reframe and say, wait, if I don't try this, I am going to regret it. So she didn't let the fear take over. And I think I take a lot of that from her actual example. She's not one to lecture, but her actual example of that has put me in good stead, I think. I'm still afraid of things, and there's many things I still haven't tried or that I haven't dived into 150%. I know that. But anything I have done, or can get over myself, I can get over my voices, is that thing of, okay, acknowledge the fear, it's there, but do it anyway. I mean, it's just people saying things like, don't be afraid. Well, I think that's just false. You're going to have fears, but are they going to take over? That's the question. What are you going to do with them? And I use them as fuel, thanks to my mother.
Yes, that's fantastic. Because people's number one fear often is they say, they've studied it, is to stand in front of a crowd and do public speaking or perform. And I know, because I sing in front of, it's a really challenging thing to do.
Yes.
So that's an enormous big fear to, and especially at the level that you're doing it, internationally and in all sorts of forums. So what tricks or techniques do you think your mum had that you learned that allowed her to overcome her fears? How was she able to reframe that? Do you know specifically how she did that, or is?
Well, I think it was just her. If she's passionate about something enough, that will be the fuel, because the threat of losing something for human beings is real. Like, that can be the motivation. Like, if I don't do this, how am I going to feel? But for instance, for me, like, singing from a young age was quite normal, because my sisters would get me up on the coffee table to sing. So it wasn't actually, singing in front of big crowds isn't that scary for me anymore. I just want to be the best I can be. Yes. It's not, because I do this for a living. So to be fair, that is not something that is that scary. I mean, I've sung an AFL grand final. Now that's scary, right? Of course, there's always something else. But give me something that I haven't done a lot of. Now that's where you're going to see me come undone. So see, like for singers, that's what we do. It's not. So that would be like speaking Swedish in front of Swedes. Like I just suck at that. Everybody's got their Achilles heel, and so I fear sounding bad and not looking good. And I've got to get over that, because my son is now speaking Swedish better than I am, and he's 5.
Yes.
You see? So that, to me, that has been the thread of him. I mean, it's not a competition, but just the concern that he and his father will start speaking Swedish at a level that I can't keep up. That's a motivation for me now to start my Swedish lessons again, and I have started them again. And the work that's involved, I can't even tell you, it's a lot. But my Swedish teacher was saying, this is a marathon for you. Don't think it's going to be overnight, but just keep at it. It might take 2 years.
It's a very difficult language, I think, is it? It sounds like...
Yeah, it is. I mean, but if I haven't even put in half an hour a day, how can I expect to get better? But my fear of not sounding good and not wanting to do the work has taken over. Well, just laziness and fear, or just because everybody speaks English here, so I can get away with it.
Yeah.
So, whatever that fear is for you, it doesn't have to be the stand in front of a crowd and sing. I mean, or speak. It's whatever's important to you, then that should be the thing to focus on, because there'll be fears around it because you want it so much and you don't want to let people down and let yourself down. But that's the thing to focus on, and to just take baby steps every day, like me and my bad Swedish. I need to tackle this because I want to tackle it.
Yeah.
Is it hard work? Absolutely it is. Yeah. But is it going to be worth it? Absolutely it is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very melodic, actually, Swedish. I notice it goes up and down a lot. Whereas Australian speakers tend to speak fairly monotone, It's
very, very melodic, and so therefore I should be a lot better at it. But I'll keep you posted.
Well, you're probably better than most people.
Well, no, not really. But I mean, I guess it's just an example. But look, as far as other mentors go, with your question,
anyone in the musical arena that really stands out for you as a mentor?
Of course, when I was, when we were first working together, James from Bachelor Girl was certainly a mentor, because given that he was 10 years my senior, he was so instrumental in us going from, a demo band to a full-time successful band. And he had a lot of experience and a lot of belief, unrelenting belief that it would happen, and that was very contagious.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
and he believed in me, and he was a real mentor. I mean, still is, but of course now I've taken a lot of the lessons he taught me and mentor other up and coming artists. I think I've had great Swedish friends that have been mentors that kept me honest here, kept me, you know, because I really had to start again here. So just good Swedish friends in the music business that understood the business but understood me, and spiritual as well, but business savvy. You know, just you really, I mean, in life you need to have a combination of factors, don't you? If you don't have, if something's missing, you should try and find that person in your life to be what, you know, to be the part of your brain that you don't have, or the, you know, to sort of be the yin to your yang, you know.
Yes.
I also did a business course called, for what it's worth, called Influence Ecology, and I found some great mentors that working in other parts of, you know, just not even the music business, but just successful business entrepreneurs who gave me great insights into better business techniques, you know, and but we also, you know, had a spiritual factor as well. So they weren't just, you know, 100% business all the time. And I found that very useful to be more effective in my music business, not just the creative side.
Sure.
Because that's an inescapable reality with the music business. You know, it's one thing to create the music, but it's not going to be heard or consumed or marketed well if you don't have some savviness around the business, and get the right team around you. And to find that right team, you need to be, you know, have some business smarts.
Definitely. That's great advice for young upcoming people that are in the industry too. I think it's a more holistic way of looking at the whole thing, and I guess in that way it makes you more balanced too, because you're not just focused on one area. More
That's right.
Messages.
No one's saying you need to be the expert at everything, but you need to at least have a good overview. And gone are the days, you know, 20 years ago where you would, you know, make a record and just give it to your manager and your record company, and you wouldn't have to do much more. Artists need to be a lot more hands-on these days. Well, it's a lot more opportunities in some ways, but it can be very confusing, like where you should put your attention, and because like there's the creative side, but there is also the business. So yeah, you do need to focus on certain things at certain times, and find a good team and work with a team.
Yes.
And in the end, you're the CEO in many respects.
Sure. I hear you. Oh, that's good to know. My question for you, just to finish with today, and is if you were looking ahead in the rest of your life, what is sort of so far left undone that you'd like to accomplish on this journey in this lifetime before you finish? And it doesn't have to be in music, but what's something that stands out for you, something you'd like to, you know, maybe on your bucket list, something like that?
Oh my goodness.
What a big... out of an airplane even.
That did occur to me. That did occur. And my niece did it recently. I thought I do need to do that.
My dad did it, and he was 80. He jumped out of a plane, but tandem, you know, with someone else. Pretty good.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Good on him. I have to say, often one thing that comes to mind is, it's always been something I wanted to do. Is, it sounds so trite and, you know, save the world, but like to be some kind of missionary in like a very sort of, I don't know if it's war-torn, but poverty-stricken society, if it's in Africa, and do it with my husband and my child, like that we would all like maybe I'll run music workshops or just help, whatever needs to be
Oh,
done.
beautiful.
And Daniel's a builder. He could, obviously help build
Yes.
whatever needs to be constructed.
Yes.
And, Leo would just befriend cultures that, he would never have connected with before. So we did it as a family.
Oh, how lovely.
Yeah, that's the one that comes to mind.
Oh.
Yeah, so if I could dovetail the music and the contribution values, creativity and contribution, that's very satisfying for me.
Yeah.
I'd like to put out another Bachelor Girl record, and I'd like to put out a solo record, and maybe even have more babies.
Yes, absolutely.
They're very my own little world. I mean, as far as big world stuff and wow, and really be challenged by that. I know that it wouldn't be. It'd be the hardest thing you'd ever have to do, just live very, tumultuous or dirty conditions, and just really get present to how lucky we are. I mean, really.
Yes.
I just try to just.
Oh, well, that's the testament to your big heart that you would want to do something like that. So that's beautiful.
Well, that's very nice of you to say, but I think often it's my own sanity that needs that, because it's very, we can get very caught up in the me and the small stuff, and it's when I do when I start to try to resolve bigger problems, that my problems just disintegrate, and I think you've got to get yourself a big problem in order to get some perspective in life.
Absolutely. Part of our service to others. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much.
What you're up to right here,
Oh, thank you. I love speaking to people like you that, are doing things in the world that are making a difference. And I didn't even mention the fact that I love your voice. You have the most beautiful voice as well, on top of everything else.
So, thank you. Well, look, I can be trivial like the rest of us. I've got this strap here that is annoying me, and I'm the whole interview, and I'm just but this is there. It's gone again. That's why I've been jiggling. But the thing is that's a silly but poignant example of who cares. But that's the brain going, oh, that doesn't look good. That doesn't look good. But I'm just saying that you need bigger problems in your life to minimize. I'm not making out little problems don't exist. They do, and then in the scheme of things, that's fine. But
I know what you're saying. So it's putting everything in perspective, is what you're
saying. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, those smaller, silly things just become exactly that. And so often, you hear people have to be on their deathbed to get that lesson.
Yes.
Sometimes even with just being with Leo, I'm concerned about things and going, God, get present, be with him, put the phone down. My good mate, Glenn Manton, now he's someone you want to interview, Glenn Manton.
Okay.
Ex-AFL footballer, does a lot of great stuff in the youth work world. I met him through White Lion, which is how the jail world that I sort of used to work in and reach. But anyway, he's got a great book called Put Your Phone Down, Put Your Damn Phone Down.
Yes.
Instead, he great message, and he points us to, use your phone, but use it to stimulate your brain or to get back to your heart space, or use technology for good rather than aimless, Instagram scrolling, and which we do, but just get the perspective. There's nothing wrong with trivial fun. It's all good. But I keep having to remind myself of, okay, how can we get a grip of what's really important? And this is a message for me. It's not. I'm not judging, but that's where I'm at. I keep having to snap out of getting lost in stuff that's so insignificant.
Sure. I hear you. Yes, that's a great point. That we all need to look at the bigger picture and think about what it is that's really important, because I think a lot of people do get lost in the everyday stuff, and they forget to appreciate. And I think that's where gratitude comes in too, being able to find the things in life to be grateful for, because there are so many when you compare your life to other people's lives. Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it? It is absolutely. Yeah. So practicing the gratitude exercises and being still, like just still the mind, like a 6-minute or 6-minute little exercise there.
People don't do that. They don't just sit still with no stimulation and not do anything. And I also encourage people to do that a lot. I know for me, I need to do that. And even just sitting in the sun for half an hour with your feet on the ground and doing nothing and having no phone, no stimulation.
Right.
Sun shining on you.
Do you do a lot of, you obviously do a lot of spiritual work and run workshops. Is that correct? Yes.
Yes. I do a self-love, self-care workshop, and actually I've got a retreat coming up in end of September, and we look at all the different ways that you can really, learn to open your heart and love yourself. And there's like 20 major principles that you can focus on. Things like you determine your self-worth by external opinions of you, things like that. And if you do, how to work with that and change that, and different aspects of self-love and self-care that we forget to do. We're so busy in life, just in survival mode and earning incomes and things. We forget to do the things that are really important, that provide quality of life. And we're here to have joy. The Dalai Lama says that, I think, that we're meant to experience joy. And I think that's what I love about what you do, because you followed your passion and you made it successful. And there are not enormous amounts of people that have been able to do that in this reality, I find. A lot of people are not able to take their passions out and just make them their life and earn the income from them, that sort of thing. We get caught up in the other stuff and we forget to do that. So yeah.
Well, thanks for acknowledging that. And again, it's all relative. Like, as you say that, I can hear my voice going, oh, but there's so much more I need to do, so much more I want to do. And there's the up and down, sideways of the life that is the music business. It's very unstable. It can be crazy. And I've had to wear many different hats to survive. And yes, thrive to a great extent. I've been lucky. When it's all said and done, whether you need to feed the heart, feed the brain, and feed the soul and the body, and in order to just survive, I think, even just to survive, if we can't find 10 minutes a day to just kind of like stop and I'm just trying to make little differences. I try not to sleep with the phone next to me, put it, in the other room. I mean, I use it as an alarm, but now I use my husband's phone as an alarm. But we had alarm clocks back in the day, so we don't have to have the phone alarm, just this little meditation app, that little app that I use, Active, and I do little physical workouts in nature here where we live in the archipelagos, because I don't like going to gyms. I prefer to use the nature that I live in and do little workouts. I don't need to do extreme workouts, but something every other day is important. And then the meditation.
Those lovely waterways that surround you there.
Look, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. So it would be criminal if I didn't use this environment. It'd be, in moving back to Australia, my friends are like, "Are you kidding me? You're moving back and you're leaving the forest that you live in and the archipelagos?" So yes, we are, and I get present again how lucky we are to live in this environment. So I'm trying to use it, but again, it might be just a few extra minutes a day of just stopping or enjoying that environment, but I think that even the knowledge of that is the gift to the self.
Yes, makes a big difference.
That can make the difference, because if you're always taking yourself for granted, then how can you can't count on anyone else, because you can't even count on yourself. No. Take care of yourself.
Exactly.
No trust. There's no trust with others, because you can't trust yourself. So this is a work in progress for me, but I'm finally, I think, you know, it's been up, down, sideways, this journey for all of us, I know. But for me, now a little older, I'm getting that stop looking outwardly and being disappointed when it's really, you're probably disappointed in yourself.
Yes.
And if you're not so disappointed with yourself, you might get a few more yeses out there, like a bit more consistency of what you want, because you're standing for what you want.
Exactly.
You know, and who you are.
Yeah, so true. One of the gifts of aging and maturity.
I'm getting very mushy on you now, but that's
great. No, it's true.
That's what I'm present to.
Yeah.
And again, so far from mastery, but more present to it, that's for sure.
That's fantastic. Yes. Oh, that's a great message to finish on. So thank you so much, Tania. Wow. I've really loved talking with you. And
yeah, look, great to talk to you. And sorry it took so long to organise, but here we are and we've done it.
It's all perfect. Everything's in divine alignment. All good.
Yeah. You were very trusting of the process. I thought, no, she's chilled. She's cool.
All good. All good.
Take care now. Thanks for the time.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.